Tyler Perry has spent the last 25 years crafting a rags-to-riches legend, so cinematic it barely sounds real. A once-homeless playwright who gambled his last paycheck on a one-man show and parlayed that bet into a global studio kingdom. The man prints box office gold, runs a 330-acre lot that dwarfs Paramount's, and signs billion-dollar syndication checks while still dropping y'all in interviews. He ranks on Hollywood Reporter power lists, dines with presidents, and bankrolls secret funeral costs for strangers. TMZ blasted $260 million misconduct lawsuit slams Tyler Perry across its homepage, and the internet froze mid-scroll. Within an hour, every entertainment desk from Variety to the Shade Room pounded keyboards, desperate for depositions. Critics quietly wondered if the Me Too spotlight had finally swung toward the billionaire who, somehow, had sidestepped scandal for decades. Devotees, meanwhile, defended him like family at Sunday dinner. Not Medea, anybody but Medea. So why does this lawsuit matter beyond gossip? Because it threatens the twin pillars that hold up Perry's empire. First, his immaculate moral branding faith, forgiveness, family. Second, the formidable business partnerships tethered to that brand, from Netflix multi-year pipelines to airline-sized product placements. If even a slice of actor Derek Dixon's complaint holds water, advertisers could evaporate faster than you can say, hallelujah. We'll sift through court filings, leaked texts, contradictory witness accounts, and the sticky ethics of power dynamics. We'll ask the only question that counts. Is this story a chilling abuse of privilege or a perfectly timed shakedown riding the cultural moment? Either answer could bulldoze reputations. Stay with me. The details are messier than a Medea Thanksgiving, and the fallout could reshape Hollywood's billion-dollar morality industry. Remember, Perry isn't just another producer with deep pockets. He's a cultural institution. Schools teach his self-made saga and entrepreneurship courses, and churches screen his morality plays as modern parables. When he opened his studio on a decommissioned Confederate Army base, it symbolized reclamation, a Black creative transforming history's wounds into future opportunity. That mythology intensified public whiplash when allegations surfaced. How could a man hailed as a guardian angel for struggling artists be framed as a villain in a single court filing? Every actor carries a mental scrapbook of near misses, a second callback that evaporated, a handshake that didn't lead to lunch. Derek Dixon's scrapbook finally gained a gold leaf entry on August 23, 2019. The setting: an Atlanta creative mixer inside a repurposed textile mill, the kind with exposed brick and string lights begging for Instagram. Tickets cost $50, but promised elbow rubbing with industry visionaries. Perry, freshly minted a billionaire by Forbes, slid in late, flanked by bodyguards and a publicist clutching schedules. In his affidavit, Dixon recalls nursing a LaCroix, thrilled he hadn't spilled on his only decent blazer, when stylist Tony Richards whispered, "You need to meet Tyler." She nudged him forward. Eyewitness accounts split here. Dixon swears Perry initiated conversation, praising his good look for screen. Others insist Tony did the talking, pitching Dixon as a versatile unknown hungry enough to relocate. That subtle dispute already loads the dice. Was Perry chasing fresh talent, or was talent chasing a kingmaker? Whatever sparked the spark, numbers swapped. By Monday, casting coordinator emails hit Dixon's phone, offering a 2-episode cameo on BET Plus thriller Ruthless. The pay, $1,200 a day, felt life-changing for someone juggling bartending gigs. Social media receipts show Dixon celebrating with 4 exclamation points and a string of crying emoji thank yous. Friends teased him about overnight success. He replied, "This is only the beginning." Hindsight weaponizes that optimism. Prosecutors label the encounter first link in a grooming chain, while Perry's camp maintains it was routine networking. Still, the sheer velocity, from handshake to booking in 72 hours, fuels suspicion among online detectives who claim lightning rarely strikes without a conductor. 5 whirlwind months later, Ruthless wrapped, and Perry's assistant fired off a digital invite. Intimate wrap celebration, black tie, January 11th, 8 p.m., Fayetteville compound. Perry's estate, nicknamed Fortress TPS, sprawls bigger than some universities. Lakeside helipad, replica White House facade, guest cottages nicer than boutique hotels. Dixon rented a tux, paid surge pricing for an Uber XL, and rehearsed small talk about character arcs in the mirror. Throughout the evening, surveillance footage, later subpoenaed, captured Dixon orbiting groups, shaking hands, laughing at jokes he could barely hear over the jazz trio. Past midnight, the crowd thinned to VIPs gnawing bacon-wrapped scallops. Perry clinked a glass, thanked the crew, and asked who needed lodging. Dixon lifted a tentative hand. House staff escorted him to a third-floor suite stocked with monogrammed robes. The complaint claims what happened around 3 a.m. turned gratitude into dread. Dixon, still in his tux, felt a warm palm glide his thigh beneath the comforter. Perry, he says, whispered something unintelligible but intimate. Startled, Dixon rolled away, muttered, "Long day, sir," and feigned sleep. He did not leave. He feared appearing ungrateful, he later explains, plus ride shares were scarce in rural Fayetteville at that hour. Internet skeptics pounce on the decision. Why stay? Why not text a friend? Dixon counters that every dream he'd chased now hinged on this man's goodwill. Trauma counselors back him, noting a freeze response often overrides logic, especially where careers and power intersect. That split-second choice, leave and risk blacklisting or stay and pray boundaries hold, haunts the lawsuit's narrative. The pandemic pummeled Hollywood, yet Tyler Perry Studios found a workaround, quarantine the entire cast on location, shoot around the clock, and test daily. Dixon, newly added to the Oval's second season, moved into on-lot lodging with 2 suitcases and a library of self-help audiobooks. On screen, he played Dale, a soft-spoken grocery clerk forced into transactional intimacy for survival. Off camera, he fielded daily notes from Perry, some purely professional, love the broken smile after line 6, others undeniably personal. Court exhibits reveal 418 messages over 9 months. At first glance, they resemble a mentorship thread. Perry recommends books on branding, finances, and mental health. Then the tone wanders. April 19th, 1:14 a.m. I haven't been touched in months. Hate this craving. May 2nd, noon. No man cooks for you unless he's hungry for more. June 8th, Perry sends a gym selfie captioned, "You don't see that stud?" Dixon replies politely, ignoring the flexed biceps in frame. Defenders argue this is garden variety flirting between adults, and note that Dixon sometimes initiates contact, sharing script ideas and life updates. Critics counter that intent matters less than impact. A studio boss controls payroll and casting. They flag one directive from Perry: keep our connection private. People will play you small, as evidence of isolation tactics. Meanwhile, Dale's storyline intensifies on screen, mirroring Dixon's real-life discomfort. Reddit users scour episodes for subtext, drawing parallels between fiction and alleged reality. Whether typecasting was malicious or coincidental fuels another branch of conspiracy theories. Summer filming breeds exhaustion. June 18th, production wrapped near midnight, with highway traffic snarled after a Braves game. Perry again suggested Dixon sleepover, this time in the detached guest house nicknamed the Tree House, famous for panoramic views and noise-canceling glass. Dixon agreed, telling colleagues he'd rather rest than white-knuckle. 75. Here's his account. At 1:03 a.m., he FaceTimed his sister, showing off the suite's rainfall shower. At 1:27, he texted a co-star, "So tired I could melt." Around 1:40, he slipped into boxers, set the AC to Arctic, and crashed. Less than an hour later, the door handle rattled. Perry entered wearing joggers, asked if Dixon needed anything. Small talk lasted seconds. Then, allegedly, Perry leaned in for a hug, tugged gently at the waistband, and urged Dixon to relax, suggesting he would enjoy it. Dixon claims adrenaline surged, but Survival instincts triumphed. He asked about upcoming script revisions. Random, jarring, then retreated to the bathroom complaining of nausea. There he recorded a 30-second whisper memo. He tried. "I'm shaking." Metadata stamps it at 2:14 a.m. Curiously, an hour before the alleged incident, Security Patrol logs note, "All quiet, guest house lights on." Critics argue Dixon could have contacted guards. Supporters counter that victims often distrust anyone linked to their alleged aggressor. The ambiguity keeps online jurors divided. After that night, communication, once daily, became sporadic and stilted. Crew gossip labeled Dixon aloof, ignoring the possibility of trauma simmering beneath polite silence. The chill persisted. By early 2022, Dixon finished his story arc and quietly declined renewal. He returned to theater, supplementing income with social media ads. Friends noticed anxiety spikes whenever Perry's name trended. Therapy notes attached to the complaint mentioned nightmares of doors opening in the dark. June 2024 marked a turning point. Dixon's therapist suggested filing an EEOC claim, citing potential systemic risk to other employees. The filing alleged quid pro quo propositions, hostile work conditions, and one alleged incident of misconduct. Standard mediation offered confidentiality, but leaks trickled out. Someone inside the EEOC apparently tipped gossip blog, the Jasmine brand. Public curiosity exploded. Suddenly the story had legs, and settlement leverage tipped toward Dixon. Perry's camp offered what insiders call a mid-six-figure goodwill payment. Dixon wanted formal acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Talks imploded. On June 13, 2025, the civil suit hit like a cannon, $260 million in damages. Plaintiff economists calculated projected losses, therapy bills, and reputational sabotage, then tripled it for punitive effect. Legal pundits note juries rarely award that high, but big numbers buy headlines, and headlines drive perception. Behind the scenes, Dixon's devout family learned of the allegations only when media called for comment. A cousin's Facebook post, later deleted, said Dixon had concealed everything to avoid bringing shame. The sudden spotlight fractured long-standing relationships. One aunt refused interviews, fearing backlash at church. Meanwhile, SAG-AFTRA quietly polled members about workplace conduct on Perry sets. Nothing official surfaced, but whispers alone nudged insurers to push for early settlement. If this crescendo feels familiar, that's because scandals of this size nearly always follow a well-worn Hollywood playbook, and Tyler Perry's case is marching straight into it. Dixon versus Perry doesn't exist in a vacuum. The last decade overflowed with headline-grabbing cases mapping a grim blueprint. Bill Cosby's civil suits taught that appeals can't erase public doubt. Gretchen Carlson's Fox settlement proved documents plus timing equal leverage. Entertainment lawyers call it the bad press curve. At first, loyalists insulate the star. As receipts pile up, sponsors evaporate and settlement costs soar. Conversely, Perry's crisis team studies Robert Downey Jr. resurrection arc. Proof audiences forgive if redemption feels authentic and no new claims surface. Rumor has it Perry weighed a televised sit-down with Gayle King. Advisors split. Half loved the transparency. Half feared unscripted questions. Financial analysts crunched digits. Paramount lost $4 billion in valuation during the Weinstein scandal. Tyler Perry Studios, privately held, dodges stock slides, but still juggles debt covenants tied to public sentiment. A morals clause breach could let lenders hike interest, an invisible penalty bleeding future budgets. Ultimately, precedent shows settlements rarely end narratives. They pause them until documentary filmmakers reboot the story. Dixon's lawyers even grabbed domains, the Oval Files, and guest house tapes, hinting they're packaging the saga for streaming, win or lose. Both camps are negotiating not just a legal outcome, but a legacy. And with every move now echoing that playbook, both camps are pivoting from strategy to endgame. An endgame the industry is watching in real time. Court calendars peg preliminary hearings for autumn, Yet insiders' whisper joint statements are drafted in both guilty and innocent versions, ready to deploy once forensic results settle. If the parties settle, fine print will bury confession language under phrases like mutual misunderstanding, leaving the public to mine Reddit for truth fragments. Conversely, if it reaches trial, Dixon's team will subpoena guest house footage. Cameras cover exteriors only, but showing Perry entering at 1:48 a.m. would bolster timeline credibility. Jurors will also hear tech experts dissect iPhone backup archives. Deleted or not, iOS timestamps persist, double-edged data. The transcripts could read like a Silicon Valley thriller. Either path, quiet settlement or public courtroom brawl, will reshape conversations about protecting dream chasers in industries where gatekeepers hold castles and keys. For every young actor watching from a cramped studio apartment, the verdict may signal whether speaking up is worth the cost. If this deep dive kept your jaw swinging, do the Trinity, smash like, slam subscribe, and ring that bell so the algorithm remembers to invite you back. If you've got insider tea or just a hot take grounded in facts, drop it down below. I read every spicy comment. Until the next bombshell, stay curious, stay skeptical, and remember, in Hollywood, truth often hides behind NDAs. I'm Sasha Spills, signing off. See you in the next video.